Hi, welcome to the second part of Chapter 5, The Road to Freedom. So, the Boston Tea Party. As a result of the Boston Massacre, Parliament ended all the taxes the colonists hated except for one. That tax was on tea. People all over the colonies refused to pay this tax. They stopped buying and drinking tea. Then, on the night of December 16, 1773, a group of colonists boarded a British ship in Boston Harbor. They dumped more than 300 chests of tea into the water. This event is now called the Boston Tea Party. The Tea Party made the British very angry. They wanted the colonists to pay for the ruined tea. Parliament passed several laws that hurt the colonists. One law closed Boston Harbor. No ships could come or go from the harbor. Another law said British soldiers could live in the homes of the colonists. These laws made the colonists begin to think about breaking away from Great Britain and starting their own country. They saw that they would probably have to fight for their freedom. Events that led to war. In September 1774, some colonial leaders met in Philadelphia. The meeting was called the First Continental Congress. The leaders decided to write to the British king to ask him to change the tax laws. At the same time, colonists in Boston were planning to protect themselves. An army of farmers and store owners was formed to fight the British. They would be ready at a minute's notice. Proudly, they called themselves the Minutemen. The British soldiers in Boston heard that the colonists were storing gunpowder in the town of Concord. On April 18, 1775, British soldiers left Boston to get the gunpowder. Two colonists, Paul Revere and William Dawes, secretly left Boston on horseback to warn the Minutemen. When the British arrived in Lexington on their way to Concord, the Minutemen were waiting for them. The first shots of the American Revolution were fired, and 8 colonists were killed. The British pushed on to Concord, but they did not find gunpowder. The colonists had taken it away. As the British marched back to Boston, Minutemen fought them all the way. The call for independence. News of what had happened at Lexington and Concord spread throughout the colonies. 2 months later, there was another important battle called the Battle of Bunker Hill. The colonists who fought were not professional soldiers like the British. They were mostly farmers who had not had any army training. At the Battle of Bunker Hill, the colonists fought bravely against the British until they ran out of gunpowder. Although the British won, the colonists had fought very well. The colonists had killed almost half of the British soldiers who fought during the battle. So, this is a battle map, and it shows where the battles took place. Battle maps can help you figure out the events of a war. So I'm going to circle where 2 of the earliest battles of the American Revolution took place. So one was Concord, and the other one was Lexington. So that's where 2 of the earliest battles of the American Revolution happened. In Philadelphia, the Second Continental Congress met in May 1775. The members of Congress decided the colonies needed a regular army. They had to figure out how to train soldiers and pay for war supplies. They made George Washington the commander, or leader, of the Continental Army. I'm going to highlight the word commander, and that means leader. A year later, the leaders of the Continental Congress asked Thomas Jefferson and others to write a statement. It was to declare or tell that the colonies were breaking away from Great Britain and why. It would told Great Britain that the colonies wanted to become their own country. It was called the Declaration of Independence. The declaration was read aloud to the colonists on July 4th, 1776. So here's a timeline of all the events that led up to the Declaration of Independence. So you had 1765, the British Parliament passed the Stamp Act. 1770, the Boston Massacre. 1773, the Boston Tea Party. 1775, the battles of Bunker Hill, Lexington, and Concord took place. And then in 1776, the Declaration of Independence. Even after the Declaration of Independence was written, not all the colonists were sure they wanted independence. Some just wanted the British to stop passing laws that were unfair to the colonies. Early in 1776, a colonist named Thomas Paine wrote a pamphlet called Common Sense. In it, he gave reasons for independence.
Good afternoon, Spartans.
Many
Pardon the interruption.
colonists decided to fight for independence because Thomas Paine's reasons were so good.
Sweatpants and no slippers. So let's get with the program. You're doing well on everything else as far as math.
Sorry, it's the announcements.
Arrows and all that stuff. So have a great afternoon. Hope to see you tomorrow.
The Declaration of Independence has become one of the most important statements in the world. It is about the rights and freedoms that all people should have. One of its most famous lines states that everyone should have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that is it for chapter 2. Chapter 5.